guys, got a new battle report for you. This one is a little bit different. It is not a narrative battle. We are planning on all going down to Southern Assault, which is the next big tournament nearby us. So this is a practice game. I'm still uncertain of what army I'm going to bring, so I'm checking out my Ogre cons versus Skip's Beast Herds in just a straight 4,500 point battle report. Um, this is probably a little harder a list than I normally bring for the narratives, just because I'm aiming for something that'll work in the tournaments. So we'll just get in and talk about that. Um, so we're going to talk about Skip's list first. One thing I did notice as I'm going over his list, he actually shorted himself by 20 points on core, so it's not technically a legal list, but not, I guess, not a horrible thing. But so we're going to start here. He's got 10 of the Mongol Raiders skirmished with bows. Next, he has a unit of Wildhorn herd. I believe that's 25 of them. And his shaman is in that. His shaman is, or a soothsayer rather, a 4 spells to the path of druidism is what he took. He also has Skull Splitter on him. Next to that, up front, he has 2 units of Razor Tusks, or I guess 2 individual models of Razor Tusks. Behind that is his big unit of Longhorns. There's 30 of those with full command and the Banner of Discipline. He also has his BSB in there, which is a Beast Chieftain with the Greater Totem Banner and the Stalker Standard. Next to that, he has a unit of 8 Minotaurs, and they have the Banner of Speed and paired weapons. With them is his general, the Alpha Bull, who has the Impaler, Dragon Mantle, and Talisman of Shielding. I tell you, in general, he seems to go very heavy on the defense for these Alpha Bull characters. Really don't think that's the best thing for him. I think he needs to start going more heavy on the offense, but that's just me. Next to that is a Gortak, and then finally on the end he has a unit of 3 raiding chariots as part of his core as well. Alright, starting on my side, I have 3 Yetis who have vanguarded themselves up. Behind that is my unit of 9 tribesmen with full command. They have the Banner of Speed on the unit. Hanging out with them is my Khan, who is my battle standard bearer. He has the Dragon Mantle and the Troll Eater, big name. Also in there is my Shaman, who is a Fire Blessed Shaman. He has 3 spells to Pyromancy and the Book of Arcane Power. Then I have a unit of 50 Scraplings with Musician, Standard Bearer, and Bows. I'm figuring even with bows, 50 shots around should be able to do something. On either side of that, I have 2 units of 1 Saber-Toothed Tiger. Then I have a unit of 6 Mercenary Veterans with full command. They have the battle scarred of Swift Stride and Thunderous Charge, and have Iron Fists on them. With them is my general. He is my Great Khan. He has the Axebreaker Gauntlet, Mammoth Hide Cloak, Talisman of Greater Shielding, and the Spine Splitter, big name. Behind that is my Frost Mammoth, and the 2 guys on the back of that have the Ogre Crossbows. And next to that is my Slave Giant. So I went ahead and dropped everything because I didn't really feel like playing any deployment games with ogres. My whole plan is to push forward and smash face. I know it's a very complex tactical plan, but that's pretty much it. My thoughts are once I can take out his 2 chaff guys, I can keep the Saber-Toothed Tigers keeping the Minotaurs busy for a little bit. And see if I can keep them off my back long enough to kill everything else. So basically, I'm pushing forward pretty hard. Same thing here. I'm matching up my giant either against his giant or the chariots, figuring I can take best advantage of the giant attack table that way and hopefully take one of those guys off. So then I go into magic phase and I drop an immolation in front of his chaff and units to kind of keep them back. End up getting it, then using the fireball to hit the unit of the little mongrel raiders, kill 3 of them, which is enough to make them panic and run almost to the edge of the board. And then during combat, I end up using, or not combat, I'm sorry, during shooting, I end up using the Noblars to kill one of his Razor Tusks, which causes the unit with his wizard in it to panic and run off the, well, not quite off the board. He's again about an inch away from off the board. And so his entire left flank has just poof gone at this point, which is very good for me, but certainly frustrating for my opponent. So the beast herds take their turn 1. He goes ahead and moves the Razor Tusk out of the way of the immolation, moves up his Longhorns right up to it. We are using the card for to just mark where the immolation is, mainly because I don't have a small template anymore, which kind of sucks. But I can't find where it is, and nothing else really uses it, so it's kind of one of those annoying spells that really should maybe have another effect other than a template, but whatever. And everything else, he's pushing up slowly. He certainly respects the mercenary vets. Doesn't want to get anything too close to them, but he needs to find a way to maneuver closer to me. So he's moved up a little bit so that on his next turn he could have some long charges or less long charges if I move up at all. So we're kind of playing chicken here on the right flank. On the plus side, everything that panicked rallied, so he didn't lose everything, and it's just way out of position at this point. And then he gets up during magic phase. He gets the crown of thorn, or the oaken throne, back up on his, or up for the first time on his wizard. I let it up because I'm probably going to dispel it next turn, and then I focus on dispelling the rest of his magic. So we go to my turn 2. I go ahead and move the Yetis up here, figuring either it'll bait out his unit with his wizard in it, or if not, then I'll just go slamming into the mongrel herd, earn the few points they're worth, and then be behind his lines, which would be super awesome. I'm also a little more cautious. I'm not pushing up too hard here with the ogres because I don't want to accidentally give him a good Minotaur charge. And actually, they're kind of afraid of the Longhorns, too. Those great weapons can do a lot of damage to me if I don't manage to kill the unit off first, particularly if I don't get the charge. And over here, I spread out a little bit, not really moving forward, but with the idea that if he comes forward, I'm going to have stuff to sneak around his lines and go deal with stuff. I also back up the saber-toothed tigers because I'm going to need them to do some redirecting on the Minotaurs when they come out, so I don't really want to overcommit them up front. He did try to shoot me last turn with the Impaler into my mercenary troops here. His Alpha Bull has it, so I go ahead and throw Chilling Howl down to maybe keep them alive a little more, because these guys are just way too expensive to let him pick them off easily to shooting. Then speaking of which, I end up popping one. I think I did shooting with the thing on the back of the Frost Mammoth, and I think I kill a Minotaur. And then the Noblars open up on the other Razor Tusk, which murders it. Beast Herd's turn 2. Again, he's not wanting to charge, but he moves up everything now so that he's got relatively easy charges on. Basically, he's got it so with these 3 units, the Minotaurs, the Gortak, and the Chariots, if I don't charge him next turn, he's pretty much going to get a charge into me. So he's kind of forcing my hand here without overcommitting, which is a pretty good, smart idea. Over here, he brings up his Mage's unit again to even up his line, and he shoves the mongrels in the face of the Yetis, figuring that I'm going to get them anyway. He might as well use them to keep the Yetis away from anything else that's special. During his magic phase, he finally dispels immolation, so that hopefully he'll be able to move around next turn. And then gets and I don't remember all the names of the totems for the beast herds, but he gets the one on the Bestigors that makes them hard to be shot and gives them magic resist 3, which is probably a good call. Then I go, and it's time to mix stuff up. By bringing his wizard's unit up front, he gave me an easy enough charge that I went ahead and sent the ogres into it. I sent the yetis into his mongrels. I think I'm going to win both of these fights pretty handily, and I should completely destroy this unit of wild horns, and when I do, I'm going to get a hold of his wizard, which is certainly going to spin things in my favor if they were not already there. Over here, I also go ahead, and again, sorry for the slightly blurry picture, but I go ahead and send the giant into the chariots, figuring that that's probably his best bet, as I'm not overly afraid of them if I'm not having to deal with their impact hits. I may have maximized wrong now that I'm looking at it. I think I should have hit him dead center, but ultimately I don't think it would matter much. And then over here, I set up the dogs where they're going to start redirecting the Minotaurs way off to the side so I don't have to deal with them for a while. During my magic phase, just to make sure this is a sure thing, I get Flaming Swords off on the Tribesman unit. And the Noblars, or the Scraplings, start opening up on the Minotaurs, and my dice are on fire. I end up killing 2 Minotaurs, even though he's in the forest and at long range. 50 dice, man. It's just 50 dice. And I'm rolling very, very well. So 2 more Minotaurs die from that onslaught. We go to combat, and because of the cold aura from the mammoth, my giant gets to go before the chariots do. I end up rolling the thump one where he has to make an initiative check or take 2d4 or 2d6 wounds. He fails the initiative check, and I do 2 wounds to him with it. But between that and the charge, he did nothing back to me. I end up breaking them. I try to run them down, but they run off like crazy, and I hardly go anywhere. Only plus side of that is the giant is now out of front arc of everything on that side of the board for him. Obviously, the Yetis murder the mongrels without taking any wounds, and they turn to face the flank of everything going on here. And yeah, the tribesmen just absolutely throw down. Murder almost everything. I think his wizard and a couple guys were left. They break, they get overrun, and you can see how happy my opponent is about that. So, Beast Herd's turn 3, my opponent finally starts to get some luck on his way. He charges the Gortak at my mercenary vets. They fail their terror check, turn and run off. They're within an inch of the edge of the board right now. Then he redirected to one of the cats. It failed its terror check. It ran off. Then his Minotaurs charged the other cat. I chose to flee with that because I wasn't ready to try to redirect him. he redirected into the other cat and sent it running even further. So now he's cleared off basically my whole center of the board. And if I don't rally that unit in the back, that is an awful lot of dudes who are just going to flee off the board, and that could really change things right now, and I'm very nervous here. He also failed to rally his chariots, and they run to within centimeters of the edge of the board. And then he turns his Longhorn unit to look at my ogres back here, and gets the same eye totem on them so that I can't shoot him or magic him off the table. So my turn 3, I decide to go ahead and not take any chances. I charge with the giant and chase the chariots off the board. I do rally with my mercenary veterans and one of the cats, actually. The other cat is still running, but I'll take that. I really have to struggle here to get my line back together before the rest of this comes, but things are back to looking good over here. Over here, I reform the tribesmen to look at the Longhorns, which are certainly coming at me next turn, so I just got to get ready for them. And then I get a really good magic phase. I drop an immolation right in front of the Minotaurs, and I drop an enveloping embers on the Longhorn unit, which even with his magic resist 3, I end up killing off, looks like 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them. So I'll take that. That's not too bad. Then the fucking scraplings. They open up on the Minotaurs now and kill 2 more of the Minotaurs with Strength 3 bowfire. Again, just 50 shots is hard to deal with. Beast Herd's turn 3 goes on, and obviously his Longhorns go slamming into the front of my tribesmen. I'm not sure how I feel about this fight. I still think I've got the win here. But if he rolls well, he can do a lot of pain to me with what he'll have left. He decides not to try and run the Minotaurs through the immolation and just reforms them to go help the Wild Horns, which is fine for me. That means he's going to take at least 1 more round of shooting. And as you can see, the 1 Minotaur in the back's got 2 wounds on him already, and I can do more damage to that. The Alpha Bull's still a threat, but yeah, I'm okay with that. He also is sending the Gortak at my mercenary vets. He had to move to the point where I've got a half-decent charge on him, and my mercenary vets are going to eat him in a combat. Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. Over here, the fight goes, my opponent doesn't do very well. He ends up throwing down 1 of the ogres, but as you can see, I kill a lot of the herd. He loses, but is stubborn and doesn't go anywhere. I think the reason why I didn't kill more than this, he got during his magic phase, he got the totem off that gave him distracting, so I wasn't hitting very well. But even with that, with the 2 characters, I also let loose with the fire breath that the fire blessed shaman has, and I did enough. So Ogre's turn 4, I go ahead and send the Yetis in to help out some more. I bring the cat over to redirect, so the Minotaurs aren't going to be able to get in there. And over here, the giant comes around to see what's going on. The Merc Vets succeed their charge into the Gortak. And I'm going to make way with my character there on the side and just absolutely eat that Gortak. And I actually rally with the other cat, so he's not going anywhere anymore either. During shooting, yeah, the Noblars are just abusive. I kill 2 more Minotaurs. I've got 1 wound on the Minotaur unit, and I managed to sneak 1 in on the Doom Bull. Then during combat, I make way and slaughter the Gortak as was expected, and reform to look at the Minotaurs like this, and this is bad. And then during combat, I absolutely slaughter the remainder of the Longhorn unit. They do, like, there's a few of them left. They do overrun or do break. The Yetis end up chasing them down. But at this point, my opponent's got next to nothing left on the board, and he chooses to surrender. So yeah, Ogre Khan's victory by surrender in the top of 4 here. Yeah, the bow shooting Noblars were way better than I expected them to be. They did a lot of damage here. Pyromancy is a great lore. And it seems like the Ogres are a very, very strong army. I really didn't even get my elite units into combat, or my elite unit into combat. And the workhorse that are the tribesmen managed to do a lot even without them. It was very unfortunate for my opponent that he panicked like half his army away on turn 1. I certainly think that helped. He had a lot more units than me, and if he had been able to apply kind of direct pressure, I'm not sure how I would have been able to choose my targets. He certainly probably would have done better had he actually had something ambushing this game. Because the Noblars, yeah, the shooting is good, but they're freaking scraplings. They're just garbage if they get into combat, even with as many of them as there are. Those long flanks, somebody hits them in the flank and they're toast. So that probably would have been my piece of advice. I love the Frost Mammoth Giant combo. That's freaking amazingly good. And Ogres can still make some really brutal characters. I definitely will say that. That general I've got is like strength 7 on the charge with impact hits, or maybe strength 6. But he's high strength with a bunch of impact hits, a bunch of attacks because he's got thunderous and devastating charge with the big name I gave him. And I mean, literally none of my Merc vets got to do anything because he murdered the Gortak before it got to go, which is pretty awesome. Immolation was a huge, like, it was my MVP spell for the game. Being able to kind of block off where my opponent was going was super big and let me really just conquer the movement phase here. And I mean, when you're winning the movement phase so hard, it's very, very difficult for your opponent to gain any traction. So, all in all, I hope you guys like this one. I'm still not sure whether I'm going to take Ogre Khans or Saurian Ancients to Southern Assault. So, if you have any advice or any suggestions, certainly leave those in the comments. Again, I want to call out my Patreon. I've had a lot of good responses to it. If anybody would like to donate and help support us going to more tournaments and helping support the work I do on the channel and the battle reports, it would certainly be appreciated. Special thanks to Petter Voss and Sylvanus Ironwood as my first 2 patrons. You guys are awesome. Thanks a lot. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this, and maybe this has whetted your appetite a little for the coming games for Southern Assault in the next few months. So hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next one.